one of the folks who are leading the digital health charge in the New York City ecosystem nationally now is an incredibly high-powered startup called LiveCare. And Peri Avitan is here, and he's going to talk a little bit about what's going on with LiveCare, because across HITLAB's analysis of rapidly scaling digital health startups, LiveCare is one of the fastest, and just finished off a raise round, is in the midst of putting together a series of digital health technologies for patients around the country through a number of different nursing homes, older adult facilities, and primary care clinics, et cetera. He's also a proud graduate of the Columbia Business School Certificate in Business Excellence Program in Digital Healthcare. Peri, welcome back to the program. Great to see you again. First of all, for folks who have not met you, if you could give a 1-minute overview of your background. Again, you've got a super impressive background from coming from Israel to New York, doing a startup, exiting, and then starting up with LiveCare. To give us a minute overview of that. You're on mute.
Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon, Professor. So I'm Peri, CEO, founder of LiveCare. As you mentioned, I recently finished the Certificate of Business Excellence at Columbia School, specializing in digital health. I've spent about 20 years in geriatrics IT. In the past 4 years as a CEO of LiveCare, we found a platform that creates data flow transition from patients' homes, geriatrics patients, a proprietary technology, the Link Plus, which allow basically to collect data from every medical device at the patient's home and transmit it to our platform, where it gets analytics and data for providers, and also help increase compliance within geriatrics patients.
That's brilliant. And, again, I think one of the things that we saw with the pandemic emerge, and LiveCare was around before the pandemic, but all of a sudden we just saw this stratospheric hockey stick curve that might take 5 years to develop. And again, it just happened because that he had started the company about 12, 18 months before the pandemic, and the hockey stick hit immediately. And Peri, tell us, first of all, for all the folks that are listening and watching who are leading startups, what's really some of the big advice items that you would give to folks about doing a start? We'll talk about HIMSS in a minute. We know you're at HIMSS, played a big part there, but certainly from the startup perspective, just managing this during the tornado, what's one big piece of advice you'd give people who are doing startups?
Well, I mean, my first advice to any startup CEO at the beginning is, first of all, you got to make your mistakes and make them fast. So the faster you make your mistakes, the better you learn, the better you pivot, and then you can find yourself with a polished product. And to be honest, the opportunity to make our mistakes very fast before the pandemic, it was limited. We literally launched our product, our first version of product, on January, not knowing that in March, every primary care physician in America would be closed. So we found ourselves facing a huge challenge with a very rapid growth literally overnight. And what that caused us is coming up and during the New York City shutdown, coming every day to work. Obviously, we applied to an essential business, but during the pandemic, we were literally getting massive amount of orders on day one. And our product was like 2 months old. And we had to deal with making the mistakes, learning from the mistakes, pivoting while we're actually onboarding a lot of doctors. Thanks to a great team here in LiveCare, we actually managed to overcome all these challenges and face the growth as it should be. Today, a year and a half, 2 years after that event, we are very happy with everything turned out. We actually, thousands of patients, hundreds of primary care physicians. So going back to my first advice, if you're not under a pandemic shutdown, make your mistakes as soon as possible and learn fast and just get going on the next challenge.
That's incredible. Yeah, I think, and for those of you watching who have been a regular part of the HITLAB community, you've seen Glenn Tillman talk about the pivot and the art of the pivot, and how Livongo, before its $18.5 billion sale to Teladoc, pivoted 3 major times from 2013 to 2015 before it really figured out what was going to work within the health plan and employer ecosystem. And then Livongo figured it out, and they scaled very quickly and eventually sold last year to Teladoc in an extraordinary, the largest digital health exit ever, accompanied by Lee Shapiro and again, Bill Toronto and the Merck Global Fund and General Catalyst. So we see this pivot as an extraordinary important point of startup success in healthcare ecosystem. Did you hear about that at all at HIMSS when you were in Las Vegas? Tell everyone a little bit about your journey to Las Vegas and some of the key learnings that you picked up from there.
Well, first of all, it's our first time going to the HIMSS. I've been going to the HIMSS for nearly 2 decades, but it's the first time as an exhibitor. We actually first time put a booth, and we decided not to put a booth that just shows patients with nurse, and really because there was a very low attendance on a convention, there were not a lot of attendees. So we decided to actually this year go and create a lot of strategic connections with other exhibitors. So from time to time, you will see an attendee come to the booth, but really the real action this year was go and visit other booths, go and visit other exhibitors, connect with their ecosystem. And I think that was a great opportunity to do that. We really found great partners in the ecosystem. And we're very fascinated to see how people during, still a shutdown, about 120 degrees outside, wearing masks, but creating a lot of networks, a lot of connections. I think for first-time exhibitors, I think that was for us a great opportunity to really experience exhibit to a major show like the HIMSS. So it was about 5,000 to 6,000 attendees. I think about 4,000 were the exhibitors. From time to time, you will see customers, hospitals, health systems coming to your booth. But that was really a great opportunity to meet other exhibitors and get familiar with the industry.
That's fantastic. And tell us a little bit about, was there one key thing that you learned this year in going to HIMSS that you wouldn't have learned if you'd not been there physically at present?
Oh yeah, bring your entire team. That was at some point we were 4 of us at the booth, and while we're talking to a major health systems, I'm looking at my other team. They're all busy, and we're like 4 or 5 people staying in line, wants to learn about the future of geriatrics monitoring. And I think for the future we're going to have more representative at the booth.
That's fantastic. All right, so talk about industry trends. Is there one big thing you learned from different industry trends that, again, you wouldn't have learned had you not been there in person?
Oh yeah, so I mean, ideally, I think the entire industry prepared now to do things even more remotely than we anticipated. We thought that the only thing we're going to see remotely is monitoring and other remote traditional treatments that now becoming even more toward telehealth and remote patient monitoring. But what I learned is that the industry take it even extra step forward by not just doing remote monitoring, but also remote treatment. So we're seeing these huge hospital equipments shrink into a small box to be at the patient's home. So hospital at home ICU is what I learned in the HIMSS as even fast moving than we anticipated. Okay,
that's incredible. So we're seeing very strong adoption rates of things that are really in the middle of your ecosystem, but by going to HIMSS and really talking to everyone, you got to the sense that they are moving much faster than you realized. And that, I guess that's good news in terms of the need for our society to digitize in healthcare and really be much more responsive to patients who are at home, given the fact that according to Sanjay Gupta and a number of other, Scott Gottlieb and a number of other scientists and epidemiologists and leaders out there, that we're looking at an endemic America today. That seems to be the general consensus from what we're seeing around the world and certainly around the country. And when you think about LiveCare and the important role that LiveCare is going to play in this new endemic America, talk a little bit about how your company is going to help folks respond and physicians be connected to their patients. Patients have a more patient-centric model of healthcare going forward.
Sure. So the only way you can really accomplish remote treatments or remote monitoring or a hospital at home or ICU and everything that's done currently at the acute centers to be done at home is the only way it can get done is by having a constantly data streaming between the patient's homes to the actual hospitals or remote treatment companies. So by launching the Link Plus in the ability to collect data seamless and being able to monitor the house for every peripheral at home, but not only that, staying connected to wearables, staying connected to all these patches, ECGs, and other type of continued care devices, this is the role that we're looking to play. We're looking to be really the centerpiece that collects all the data, rather than having a hospital or health systems now doing 100 type of integrations to different type of peripherals and maintain those integrations. It's very challenging. So what we bring to the game is really the ability to integrate to one company only, LiveCare. Thanks to the Link Plus. The Link Plus will basically capture the data from all those peripherals and bring them straight as a raw data, HL7, Smart Over Fire, any protocols that are out there, any formats that are out there, straight to the health system, straight to the telehealth companies as well, and let them really do what they do best, which is taking analytics on data, treating patients better, and everything else. So connecting data, consolidating data, and setting straight to the health system is where we're going to be playing.
That makes a ton of sense, and that is, I think, what people are needing more now than ever. You know, from your standpoint, looking now at again this kind of digital audience and being at a digital health meeting, would you recommend for folks that are watching, both you know, whether they're life science health plans providers or whether they're emerging technology companies like yourself, would you recommend that they start going and signing up for in-person on-site meetings based on your experience at HIMSS?
For at some point. So definitely on the monitoring side, the market is completely prepared. You can monitor almost every vital, every condition, every chronic condition remotely. On the treatment side, I really recommending looking at really showcases true evidence of every company that you're partnering with. So we on the side of collecting data, but there are a lot of companies that are taking the data and turning that to action. I suggest and recommend to everybody, really investigate the company that you're partnering with. Look at their true evidence, look at their real data, look at the real patient outcomes. See, really, did they reduce ER visit? Did it really prove to prevent readmission to hospital rehospitalizations? And so I really recommend that. There are so many out there right now that are trying to accomplish the same goal. But I really, on the remote treatment side, I recommend that you're looking at really true results, showcases, and really true evidence. On the remote patient monitoring, it's already there. Just go for it.
Yeah, that's absolutely clear. And we've got some questions coming in as well. You know, in terms of the arsenal of remote patient monitoring technologies, and you guys have a number that you interact with and affect, where's the future of this going? What are you seeing as the next remote patient monitoring technology that's really needed for the home, that's not quite there yet, but that's really going to break it open? Is it things like a wearable blood pressure cup, a wearable glucometer, a Fall sensor? What are you seeing on the remote patient monitoring in-home base that it was really needed that's not quite prime time yet?
Great question. So the way I'm seeing it is moving a little bit from the traditional vitals taking process where you have to turn your blood pressure, where you have to put your finger in the pulse box, where you have to jump on a scale, right? So at the end of the day, the way I see things moving forward, and it's really happening as we speak, is things going to be fully automated. It's not only on the wearable side, by the way, it's a calculation of out of environmental data. So the room temperature connected to your chronic condition. There's a lot of prediction analysis that can come out of it. So switching from traditional vital collection where you have to actually, it's a passive data. You have to actually create action in order to take the vitals, to a fully automated continued care data flow. And that's, again, that's where we are looking to play a strong role by collecting that data in the same way that it's been always seamlessly created by every time that the patient either watch a TV, take a shower, or sleep, data has to be transmitted to the health systems, to the actual providers, not waiting for patients to actually do that. In a geriatric world, it's even more challenging. Having a geriatrics patient remember to do blood pressure, pulse ox, body weight scales, glucometers, temperature, spirometers, a few times a day, it's becoming very challenging, I can tell you. And data collection, it might be good at, and benefiting up to some point, but we would love to see more peripherals, more actual medical device in a continued care. We're seeing a lot of, diabetic continued care devices, but anything on the blood pressure, ECG, and I can't really speak about a lot, but we are exposed to a lot of integrations that behind the scenes. So yes, cardiac, monitoring right now becoming almost completely seamless. There are so many solutions about to come to the market that we're integrating with, and it's an exciting time about that as well.
And I'm looking through the attendee list right now, which as a host or whatever you want to call this, I can see. And again, you've got a number of folks from Columbia Business School, some of your alumni and your colleagues there rooting you on. You've also got a number of life science executives who I know would love to understand this kind of model and how life science companies, either on the R&D side or on the commercial side, could work with you and really help to integrate more with what's happening with the patient at home. How, are you guys thinking about that, or what are some of the models you've got to do there?
Yeah, at the risk of sounding like a salesman, info@livecareusa.com. Someone will answer right away. That's first. Number two, feel free to visit my LinkedIn page. I do actually answer to all the emails, all the messages. I really love the interaction on LinkedIn. So yeah, I mean, feel free to reach out. Also, our website, livecareusa.com, gives you more information. Submit on request a demo. There's not enough demo. I mean, we would love to do as many demos as we can. It's okay, no credit card required.
All right, great. Well, look, again, Peri, thank you for jumping on today. I can't thank you enough. This is just an incredible amount of information. Number one, HIMSS, you went to it, you learned a lot, you met a lot of people, and you were safe. Those three things are the most important things today. And then also, you know, just taking the time to prep and be here today. So thank you very much. A virtual round of applause from the audience.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. All right. You know, again, just a wealth of knowledge in terms of not just what he's done with his company and scaled it so rapidly as he has, but also what he's done in terms of the ability to bring together a community around remote patient monitoring. And, you know, it's very hard to do this. Again, he's done an exit before. So a lot of lessons learned from Peri and how his previous exit helped form his current launch and how his stories are. Anyone watching here today, please do you know, connect with Peri. He's a tremendous person. He's on 24/7. He just, I don't think he sleeps at all either. And there's a lot of lessons learned from what he's doing and how he's doing it. And you know, just extraordinary, amazing.